Hi, it's Paula coming to you live from my bedroom. Um, I'm here with Richard and, of course, my son Tom on drums. I'm going to be reading first from something that Lori, one of our viewers, sent to us, viewers and good friend. Okay, it's about The Age of Reason by Thomas Paine. It was part of a newspaper article, I think. It says, published in installments starting in 1794, it was a fierce attack against organized religion. Paine believed in God in a divinely created universe, but accepted no single faith. He scorned what he described as the Bible's paltry stories and said Christianity was too absurd for belief, too impossible to convince, and too inconsistent for practice. By the time of his death in New York in 1809, he was estranged from friends and many of the surviving founders. Only a handful of mourners attended his funeral. He has since been championed by everyone from labor leaders and communists to Thomas Edison. But presidents before Franklin Roosevelt in the 1930s rarely quoted him. Theodore Roosevelt referred to him as a filthy little atheist, which Lori tells me she's going to have a T-shirt made up with that on it. Mm-hmm. Okay, there are Paine landmarks around the country, including a monument and museum in New Rochelle, New York, and a statue in Morristown, New Jersey. So she just thought that fit into our discussion last week about religion, and I just thought it was interesting. I didn't know much about Thomas Paine. I knew common sense, but I knew that was what kind of got us out of British control, or at least was the catalyst. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that's an example of how ideas can influence the way a society goes.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, and I wanted to give a shout out to her and thank her for watching the show. Mm-hmm. So, do you have any thoughts? Do you know more about Thomas Paine that you'd like to add to that, or is that something?
Well, I know people who started an organization in his honor.
Really?
Yeah, they read his works, and they try to implement his spirit into the public discourse.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. And that's something local here, or that's like a national thing?
Good question. I know there's a local branch, so I don't know if the local branch is the one that started it and it went viral, or if they just picked up on the trend from somewhere else.
And I'll keep these glasses on. So, you should start with something, but when we have our the next topic, I have some questions for you.
Now, have you heard me talking about the curse of Led Zeppelin?
Yes, I heard about that on the show.
All right,
on the No Exit show.
All right, I'll skip over that. Did you hear me talking about King Ludwig of Bavaria?
No, I don't know anything about King Ludwig of Bavaria. So go ahead.
He was in the 1700s. He's an example of he was next in line, and so he got it not through any merit, but just because of his birth. Mm-hmm. And he had his own way of seeing the world. So he thought that, for example, the palace that he was in was never good enough. So he kept remodeling it and remodeling it and remodeling it and spending tons and tons of the country's money. Mm-hmm. In fact, he remodeled it to the point where it is so famous that I'm certain you have seen it.
Okay.
You've seen it because when Disneyland was built, Walt Disney had just come back from a trip to Germany. And he saw the castle and he said, "That's what I want Disneyland to look like."
That's the Disney castle.
That's the Disney castle. That's right.
Wow. I thought that was a just a imagined castle.
So look at these similarities between King Ludwig and Trump. Trump is remodeling the White House, and Ludwig was constantly remodeling his castle. Ludwig only would communicate with people at night. Like Trump stays up all night doing his posts.
Well, what was that? What was the purpose of that with Ludwig?
He felt that the day was too oppressive, and the night was more calming.
Ah, okay.
He also felt that most of the people that he knew and he met in his life were intolerable. So, what he would do is he had a special elevator put into the dining room.
Mm-hmm.
And he would dine by himself, but he was annoyed that the servants were standing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So he would give a signal, and the dining table would be lowered to a floor lower so he could eat alone.
Without the servants.
Yeah, then he could just go.
So if he wanted some more wine, he had to elevate.
Go back up. He had to elevate himself, yes.
Now, this is a character.
Ludwig pretended that he lived in an imaginary world where he was living back in the Middle Ages, where there were knights in shining armor.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to Trump seeing himself as king.
Yeah.
Now, consider this. What if Trump is showing signs of Alzheimer's and he's taking an Alzheimer's drug, and there is one on the market that is prescribed for people with Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
And when they take it, they show poor judgment, they act impulsively, and they have these little cat naps throughout the day. And the drug has to be administered on a regular basis through a vein in the back of your right hand, which leaves a bruise.
Are you kidding me?
Isn't that interesting? And
fascinating.
And and another thing is, when you're on this drug, you have to have a CAT scan once a week.
Wow.
So it's all like fitting into place here. There's people trying to prop him up.
Did you come upon this on your own, or did you read about this in an article somewhere?
I read about it in an article by Thom Hartmann. And
Thom Hartmann, is he right for the New York Times?
He used to work for MSNBC, and he broke off. He broke off to do his own show because his popularity was growing.
Okay. That's incredible. That's wild. That is something. That's something that should be looked into, because if he has Alzheimer's, it would affect his behavior even without that drug. But the whole thing with the shot in the right hand and the CAT scans is a little bit too on the nose.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, Thom Hartmann said, let's look and see what happened in the trajectory of King Ludwig's life. His Privy Council got so annoyed with all his little quirks and the fact that he was bankrupting the country,
mm-hmm.
that they essentially got the courage up and told him, "You're fired."
They fired the king?
Yeah, they said, like, you might still be the king, but you don't have any say in how the country is run anymore. As far as we're concerned, you're just a figurehead.
Well, what do you think about Trump and his allies in the cabinet saying that there's no such thing as international law?
That's an example of living in an imaginary world.
I mean, I keep wondering when The Hague is going to announce something, war crimes, the Venezuela stuff, the now threatening all these other countries, Greenland, an ally country. Where are the war crime charges? That's what I want to know.
Well, I think as soon as It's almost like not only this country, but the world has to realize enough is enough.
Well, I think most of the world thinks it's already been enough.
Well, first you realize it, then you do something about it. Then you get the person who handles the Helen Keller thing, and she says, "Okay, it's time. It's time to stop letting this person take food off of everybody's plate."
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but there have been some really influential Republicans who have turned against him.
Yep.
And now nobody jumped on board with them. You know, everybody's kind of scared and they're just like holding back, and they're like, no, he's, because what does he have on these people? Are they afraid of Stephen Miller? Do they think he's Dracula? I mean, there's something going on that we don't know. There's something under the surface that is not, we don't know about. Mm-hmm. There's something here that we can't see.
Yeah, they are definitely in self-preservation mode.
Right. And I mean, like I've said this before, they don't want to go back to being grocers. They don't want to go back to being, working as a clerk in an office someplace. Mm-hmm. These are the House of Representatives. These are not necessarily educated people. Mm-hmm. They're people, they're regular people, just like the House of Commons. And they all of a sudden have staffs and limousines and apartments in Washington and all these perks. Plus they're probably getting, raking off from all these, what do you call those guys who come to Washington to represent companies and organizations? I can't think of what they're called.
Lobbyists.
Thank you. Yeah. Lobbyists. They're getting perks. They're getting money. They're getting all kinds of. I mean, they're even getting women. I do not understand the woman who finds that kind of power sexual. Mm. I don't get it. I don't find it. It doesn't. I don't get. They look at that, and there's something about the power that turns them on, and I can't get it. Especially looking at those people. Get it.
Remember Henry Kissinger in the 70s? Yeah. He would always date beautiful women. And a reporter said to Kissinger, "What is it about you, Mr. Kissinger?" And he said, "Well, don't you know that power is a type of aphrodisiac?" So he knew what was going on.
Yeah, he didn't. Well, I shouldn't say most. There are men who do not care why a woman is with them as long as she's with them. Mm. They're not fussy about why, as long as she's there on their arm and making them look good.
Well, in his last term, someone said to Trump, "Do you think Melania married you because you're wealthy?" and he didn't know what to say. And so they asked Melania the same question. "Did you marry him because he's wealthy?" And she said, "Let me turn that question around. You think maybe he married me because I'm beautiful?"
Well, yeah, I've heard her actually say it in a more direct way, where she says, "Of course he married me. Of course I married him for his money. He married me because I'm beautiful."
Yeah,
that's the way it works.
Yeah.
So I like this. So, is there any other comparisons with this Disney Castle King and Trump?
Well, oddly enough, that castle that he kept remodeling is the biggest touring attraction in Austria to this day.
Wow. Well, yeah, they want to see the Disney Castle.
They do. They do.
All right, so I have a couple questions to ask you,
okay,
Mr. Wicca.
Yeah.
I have been, I told you after I was watching those podcasts about Spinoza, they give you the Reader's Digest version on these podcasts, right? Yeah. They don't. So I wanted to actually read something by Spinoza, but not read, but listen to, and I couldn't find anything on the Buffalo library system that I could listen to, but I did find this book that talks about. It's kind of very misleading title. It says something about think lastly of death or something like that, or something weird like that. But it's about Spinoza. So the more I'm hearing about Spinoza, and you were a philosophy major, so I'm sure you know a lot about him. I am wondering how much of Spinoza's free man tenets do you follow?
Well, in the history of philosophy, he's mostly noted for his ideas on the nature of reality. That was in the 1600s. That was a big topic. They kept wondering if you break down reality to its simplest form, what do you find? And he took the position that what you find is God. And they said, well, what do you mean by God? And he said he gave all this long description of God that has nothing to do with the biblical God.
Oh yeah. Those are the podcasts I've been listening to, the ones that talk about his ideas about this God, which is very much it's largely about interconnectedness, almost Zen or Buddhist in its comprehension of everything being connected, and that's what God is, And that's what interested me about him initially. But now that I'm listening to this book and I'm learning about this, he stole this from who is the teacher of Alexander the Great?
Aristotle.
He stole this from Aristotle. The whole thing about eudaimonia. Remember, I think we've talked about this on the show, where eudaimonia means it is kind of, it's always translated as happiness, but what it really means is that all of your decisions are rational based on your the right thing to prolong your life and to keep you in an equilibrium, right? So, but it can't just be that you don't smoke cigarettes because they're not good for you and everybody tells you not to smoke them. You have to not smoke cigarettes because you really believe that it's the best choice for you and you're happy to make that decision, So it rules out just people with a lot of self-control. It's saying that the ideal man who can attain this eudaimonia is one who only makes choices based on what is best for him, health-wise. And so he's talking about this free man, and he's using all of Aristotle's ideas, in this, which is fine. Everybody needs to get their muse where they can find it, right? Okay, but these are I asked AI, which I always do, for some bullet points on Spinoza's free man. Okay, so the first tenet is you're guided by reason, right? The free man acts solely based on clear and distinct ideas. He understands the necessary laws of nature and aligns his actions with them, rather than reacting blindly to external stimuli. I see you in that. Do you see yourself in that?
I could see that, sure.
Okay. Freedom from passive affects. He is not a slave to passions like hate, anger, or envy. While he still experiences emotions, he transforms passive affects into active ones by understanding their causes. So not a slave to emotions. Do you see yourself there?
Definitely.
Okay.
I often argue against emotion. You know how
Yeah, well,
how a lot of the feminist ideology says you got to get in touch with your emotions?
yeah,
And I argue against that. I say that's not a good idea because often you don't know where your emotions are coming from.
right. Well, I can see that I can agree with. We are human beings have emotions, but you don't have to. You can learn how to respond instead of react.
Yeah.
And that's what a logical person will do. Okay. So, all right, we got two out of the, so there's six. Okay. Focuses on life, not death. Okay. I don't know about this one. Spinoza famously states that a free man thinks of nothing less. Oh, that's where they get the title from. I didn't get to this part yet. A free man thinks of nothing less than death, and his wisdom is a meditation on life. He focuses on joy and the enhancement of his own power of acting. By power of acting, I am understanding through what I'm listening to that he means to keep yourself vital, healthy, and strong, to extend your life as long as possible without bad effect. Like you're not going to end up in bed tied up to all kinds of machines just to keep you alive, but to keep healthy and to keep your life at a certain level of power. That's what he means by power. He doesn't mean power like political power or anything like that. But I'm seeing that in you with your exercise and your eating and the way, and your socializing, the way you organized your life to bring people into your life, quality people who you can have conversations with, right? Okay. But not that you deny death, you don't, because you're like me. Death is almost a motivator. I want to do this stuff while I'm still alive. All right. And then, okay. Virtue is power. For the free man, virtue is its own reward. It is defined as conatus, which I don't, or the effort to preserve one's own being through the use of reason and understanding. Okay, I checked that one off for you too. Okay, social harmony. Because the free man follows reason, he naturally seeks to live in harmony with others. He understands that nothing is more useful to a human being than another human being who lives by reason. Okay, one more, and you've got all, and we got bingo. Okay, lack of fear and hope. He avoids these two emotions because they both imply a lack of knowledge and a reliance on an uncertain future. Instead, he acts with confidence based on his present understanding. Got the bingo card filled, don't we, Richard?
I guess maybe I do. See, he was living at a time when people were doubting the existence of free will,
and people were starting to, it was right after or during the Renaissance, right?
No, 1600s. So it would be a couple hundred years after the Renaissance.
Oh, okay, all right. So
science was now on the rise.
Yes.
And it was the belief that, one thing causes another, causes another, causes another.
Right.
And therefore, how free are you if every decision you make was caused by something going back in history?
Yeah, but there's a way to argue that too, which is it's a chain of events, certainly. But there's nothing saying that chain of events has to go on indefinitely. You can break that chain of events with your will. Let's say you're on a bad track. You're an alcoholic, and you had a bad childhood, and you turn to alcohol to medicate yourself, and something happens, and you realize, oh my God, I'm ruining my life. I'm losing my life to this. And you can make a snap decision to change that. It doesn't mean that once something's set in motion, it has to continue that way. We know a lot of people who have changed their life. So, that's where the free will comes in. We're not just letting it. It's not just like a stack of dominoes that are just going to all fall over. There's a domino in there that can stop it. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting that all of this stuff I was listening to, I said, hey, wait a minute, that's Richard.
So Spinoza had this interesting counter argument to predestination, which Vanessa just brought up. He said that you are totally free, not when you deny that there was causes that made you do what you're doing, but when you understand them. Then you get into this thing of necessity, that A causes B, causes C, causes D, and that's where I am now, and I understand all that, and necessity is telling me it's time for a change.
Right. That's good. That's good. I see. It's hard for me to see the comments because I'm on my phone, so everything's really tiny. So yeah.
Yeah, Vanessa's constantly jumping in with little mini comments.
Yeah. I'm glad we got to cover that Spinoza thing because I thought that was interesting. I'm enjoying the book. It's difficult to listen to passively, where like I'm doing the dishes or I'm driving or something. There are chunks that are getting by me because it's really dense material. What does Spinoza like to read, Richard?
I don't know, but I agree with you. I think there was a lot of Aristotle in there. Certainly a lot of Descartes, because, Descartes was around the same time, and he said that there's the mind and the body, and they're two different things. And he said, oh, no, it causes all kinds of logical problems when you separate them. Spinoza said, the body produces the mind.
Well, it's part of the body. The mind is part of the body. I mean, the brain is part of the body, which is where your mind lives. Is that not correct?
Well, when you wake up in the morning, your body, the term waking up actually means your body is creating your mind.
That whole concept, I don't know if I sent that one to you, the sleep thing, where your mind remains active and your body is paralyzed. Every night when you sleep, your mind remixes all the information and paralyzes your body so you can't act it out. Crazy stuff. I mean, and we're not even sure why we sleep and dream yet. Science has not figured out the exact reason why. I mean, they say, okay, yes, you are making you're repairing cells. You're resting, but you can repair cells while you're resting. You don't have to be unconscious to repair cells. And also the dreaming stuff is so fanciful and so bizarre. And I mean, it reminds me of the Zen thing. I didn't know if I was a man dreaming I was a butterfly or a butterfly dreaming I was a man.
Well, have you ever woken up and not realized who you were, and then you had to sort of remind yourself?
I've had that happen where I know who I am, but I don't know where I am. It's like not when I'm home, but if I'm sleeping in a hotel or something, I will be disoriented. Or if I'm having a dream about my childhood bedroom, and I wake up in the bed, I try to get out on the wrong side.
Wow.
Did Joan?
Brian Muha is really jumping in on this. He says, our separating mind-body is a huge mistake. The mind-body problem. Your mind never stops, just changes frequency and wavelengths. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it sounds really cool.
Well, it would mean like your mind is a radio. And sometimes it's in a static mode, and other times you can hear voices and stuff that you're thinking.
Well, that's kind of what Lori was saying last week with that thing about being a radio receiver. you know, and some people can pick up the vibrations, and some people have a harder time with it. So I guess, I mean, I never thought that the mind was separate from the body, because I always believed, I guess I never really thought about it too much, that the mind is the brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. You know, you can get a brain injury; it'll totally affect your personality.
Yeah, that would be weird. I mean, it's bad enough.
There's a very famous case of a man got a brain tumor, and he suddenly started getting really, really mean, and angry and abusive, and etc. And then he was referred to a surgeon who said, "Yes, it is possible to remove that tumor." They had it removed, and his personality went back to the way it was.
Well, it was obviously pressing on something that was, yeah.
That's right.
I heard something, I don't remember where I heard it, that in I don't know if this is, I think it was on Sunday morning. I like to watch that show. They cover some interesting things, and they also do some light stuff. And I think they were talking on Sunday morning about how with AI, that in 5 years, it's possible that AI will have found cures for almost all the cancers.
Oh.
And other diseases as well. That because of the way it can take the information, and it can just crunch it.
Right, and it can be and simultaneous too.
Right, in a way that a human brain would take 100 years to do.
Right.
So I'm very hopeful.
Right now, there might be some experiment that just ended yesterday on a drug that might cure a certain type of cancer. And then the physician accesses it immediately when he has a patient in his office with those symptoms.
Right. Right. But also it could come up with what causes different things, taking all the information that's available and saying, okay, considering everything that's changed in the last, let's say 50 years since autism started, these are all the reasons, and then coming up with the reason why there's autism. There's so many possibilities. I am definitely more excited by AI than afraid of it.
That's a good attitude to take. What did you think of that story about the Star Trek: The Next Generation in the 1990s had a cautionary tale about AI? Did you hear about that?
I haven't.
Okay, so now remember, this is written in the 1990s. The engineer on the Enterprise, he cannot figure out what's wrong with the engine. He's tried everything, and he just can't figure it out. But they need that engine to start working again. So he comes up with an idea. Mm-hmm. He tells the computer, can you recreate a hologram of the person who built and designed this engine so I can talk to them? So the hologram appears. He introduces himself. Okay. He says, I'm the engineer. I know you invented it. Could we talk a little bit about the problems I'm having? So they have this dialogue, and the artificial hologram says, well, I think the problem might lie here. And the hologram is right. But in the process of this dialogue, the engineer on the Star Trek, his name is Geordi, he says, you're really a nice person, you know that? I really feel a bond with you. And the hologram says, I feel the same way about you. And they actually start to fall in love. Okay, so that happens in season 3. So many people like this episode that they wrote in, and then so they did a follow-up episode, which is very revealing in season 4. Geordi, on a trip to planet Earth, gets to meet the real engineer who designed the engine, also a female. And when he meets with her in person, the first thing she says is, Geordi, you're acting kind of weird around me because this is the human being. And she says, why are you so like acting like we've known each other and that we're such close friends? And so Jordy confesses and he says, well, let me tell you what happened. And he tells her the story. And you know what she says? Well, you got to realize something. You did not meet me and fall in love with me. You fell in love with a projection of your mind.
A computer generated projection, I guess. I mean, it's but okay, if you want to get on that, isn't it the case often that we fall in love with a computer generated image in our mind?
Yes. Yes. So
because we don't know, we can't tell. You can't tell a person about a person. You have to get to know them for a long time before you actually know a person. It's not something you can do on 3 dates.
I agree.
Because you're putting your best foot forward, both sides. There's a lot. There's a saying: you get the first 6 months, you get to know what you have in common, and the rest of your life, you have to find out what you have that's not in common. That's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and Jason, he sent me an article in the London Guardian where the reporter went around to everyone he could find who has an AI companion that they're falling in love with. And he interviewed all the people. And I like what one person said to the reporter. He said, look, I get what you're getting at, Mr. Reporter. I know it's not real. However, it fills a gap in my life.
Yeah, I can see that. I just saw something came in on my Facebook from Celeste, and she's asking if we're still on. I don't know if I can't really use my phone to text her back, but if somebody wants to text her or send her a message via Facebook,
yeah, no problem.
Maybe she can join us for the last 20 minutes or so.
Sure. Let me send that to her right now.
Yeah, so you check in and see if she comes in. Tom, that'd be nice.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Will do. Okay, so let's see. Open this in new tab. And then see all. And then
so let's see. I just knocked over Sheldon.
You knocked over a shelf? Is it going to fall on your head?
No, I can't figure out which way. When I'm looking at the okay, that's what I'm looking at. It's so weird to do that behind your back when you're looking at a mirror image of yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, see, if I look at I've got two different images. If I look at one image, I can see where I'm actually. These are all the books that give me comfort in the evening when I'm going to sleep.
Okay, message sent to Celeste.
Okay, thank you. So anyway, I know that is this one of your favorite poetry books too, Richard?
Yeah.
The Voice That Is Great Within Us.
Oh, yeah.
I love.
Yeah. That's a great book.
Yeah.
I got introduced to a lot of poets that way.
Yeah, I have too. And I have there's a poem in here. I think maybe I've even read it before. Did I ever read Juniper on the show before?
Oh, I would love for you to read it again.
Oh, this is the poem I want read after I die. I don't have a lot. Well, aside from this is what I feel about poetry and about life. Juniper, from where I live, from windows on four sides, I see four common kinds of evergreen: white pine, pitch pine, cedar, and juniper. The last is less than a tree. It hugs the ground. It would be last for any wind to break, if wind could break the others. Pines would go first, as some of them have gone, and cedars next. But where is wind to blow a cedar down? To overthrow a juniper, a wind would have to blow the ground away beneath it. Not wind, but fire, I heard a farmer say. One lighted match dropped on a juniper would do the trick. And he had done the trick. I tried to picture how it would look. Thin snow over the pasture and dark junipers over the snow, and darker for the snow. Each juniper swirl-shaped like flame itself. Then from the slow green fire, the swift hot fire flares, sputters with resin, roars, dies, while the next juniper goes next. Poets are rich in points of view if they are rich in anything. The farmer thinks one thing. The poet can afford to think all things, including what the farmer thinks, thinking around the farmer rather than above him, loving the evergreen the farmer hates, and yet not hating him for hating it. I know another fire in juniper, have felt its heat burn on my back, have breathed its visible smoke, climbing New England hills in summer, have known the concentrated sun of hard blueberries, chewed them and spit them out, their juice burning my throat. Juniper. Its colors are the metals, tarnished bronze and copper, violet of tarnished silver, and if you turn it, white aluminum. So many colors and so dull it green, and I so many years before I saw them. I see those colors now and far, far more than color. I see all that we have in common here where we live together on this hill. And what I hope for is more in common. Here is my faith, my vision, my burning bush. It will burn on and never be consumed. It will be here long after I have gone, long after the last farmer sleeps. And since I speak for it, its silence speaks for me.
Hello, Celeste.
Hello, Celeste. I was reading the poem I want read at my funeral.
Do you have a poem you wouldn't mind being read at your memorial service?
I hadn't given it a thought. I was thinking more music and dance, but poems are good.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody will read a jazz poem or something for me, or a protest poem maybe or something. Yeah.
Well, I also
want a celebration. I don't want the dirt.
No body stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm giving my body to UB. They can have it when I'm done with it. I have no use for it.
Try to do that. You know, they send you a note back and they tell you whether or not they're going to take your body or not.
You're kidding me.
They don't have to do it. I guess they got too many.
They have too many bodies.
I guess, yeah. You know, and I know that because we've had family members who have donated, like my godmother and a couple of the people, specifically to the School of Medicine.
Yeah, that's where it's going.
Right. And they have a nice ceremony and all the rest of that, you know, once a year to thank and celebrate. But here recently, it's been like, you know, we appreciate it, but no.
I'm going to have to get in touch with them and see if they'll take me.
The other part, so I thought, well, I would, you know, I have a background in dance, but I donate because you do have to study physiology and you do work with cadavers. And if you're getting a degree, an advanced degree in dance and understanding body mechanics and types of techniques, Feldenkrais,
I didn't know
Alexander. That. Yes. So I thought about that, but I'm not quite sure if that's going to, you know, Maybe in a few
Well,
years from now, it might be different, but yeah.
I thought about that guy that plasticizes bodies and slices them up and puts them puts them on display. But I couldn't do that to my daughter because I mean here
No.
her mother's floating around someplace on display. No, I think that's a bad idea. But the
Oh my
medical,
God. Yeah.
yeah,
So, and there's this community of people, when you thought of, I thought of it when you mentioned slicing up your body, that live high in the Himalayas, like high,
yeah,
and, very, very primitive, more or less. And because of the climate there, and they're so far away from everything, they have a person designated in their village who, when a person is deceased, takes them out to this hill and chops them up and leaves them for eagles or vultures or whatever.
yeah. I'm
And
not opposed to that.
yeah, that's, I mean, because they don't have a place for, a
Yeah,
cemetery.
they can't, right. They can't bury anything. It's frozen. The thing
Yeah.
is, I mean, we're made out of meat. I
Yes.
don't I don't have any
And
problem with,
chemicals and water, more chemicals and water than anything else, because the rest
yeah,
of it sort of dissolves to mush if you're not
yeah,
cremated.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, that's I wanted to read that because I'm in my bedroom and I've got all these books behind me. So
Yes.
I thought I would start pulling some off the shelves, and that's actually the first one I pulled off. Oh, this is the book, Celeste.
Let me
This
see.
is the book. It's very small.
Oh, yes. The
No.
Omnipotence of.
That's not the one. That's not the one. I'm sorry. I pulled the wrong one. I can't. The one I wanted to show you about the woman who had something to say about. Oh, I was. I guess my brain is dead. The Tony wasn't Toni Morrison. Who was it that wrote that? Or was it Toni Morrison that wrote the book?
I think
The
it was
essay.
Toni Morrison.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I thought that was it when I grabbed it, but it's not. I've got so
Okay.
much junk up here.
Our viewer Brian Muha wants to know who was the poet who wrote the Juniper poem?
Oh, Juniper is written by Robert Francis. And I looked up some more Robert Francis, and it's funny because it's one of my this is my poem that that I love so much. But there was a poem when I was in high school, and it was called "Keep Me." I don't know what it was called, but it was started off "Keep me from going to sleep too soon, and if I go to sleep, wake me and tell me that the moon is doing something. The clouds are doing something to the moon they've never done before." And this too was Robert Francis, and I had never made the connection between those two poems before, so. It was a poetry book that my boyfriend stole from Emerson High School.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very romantic gesture.
Yes.
He did not care. He did not care one twit about poetry, but he knew I liked it.
That's thoughtful.
I wish yeah, it was thoughtful in a kind of a criminal way.
Okay. Oh,
And Al
okay.
Capone was good to his mother, right?
No. Okay. Well,
So
all right.
Richard,
So,
what else?
what were you guys
What else?
talking about before I had a chance to get here?
Oh, we talked. I was talking about Spinoza's Free Man, and I read off some bullet points, and because I decided that Richard Wicca is living the life of Spinoza's Free Man, although it's impossible. It's like with the Stoics, not they would aspire to something, but that didn't mean they always got there, But I think with Richard, he's definitely has these aspirations. So we talked about Spinoza. We talked a little bit about Thomas Paine,
Oh boy.
And what was the other thing, Richard, that you brought up? Your
King Ludwig of
King
Bavaria.
Ludwig, and how he's like Trump, and that the
Which
Disney castle was.
Ludwig? The mad one?
Yeah, yeah, they called him Mad King of Bavaria. Yeah.
I visited his castle.
We talked about that.
We talked about that. We said that Richard said it's one of the most visited places in Austria.
Yes.
Did you think of Disneyland when you were there?
It's like that. It twirls up. I mean, it's a walk uphill. So you ride down, so you don't be tumbling, running down, and lake in the back, and it is spiraled like the Disney castle, that winding road with the tall sphere turret, point on the castle. Yeah. I was there with my mother, my sister, my dad, reluctantly. My mother was, she was all about artifacts and castles and history, and my dad would accommodate her because we couldn't drive. She didn't drive. We were too young to drive. And she wanted to go to all these historic places. She did brass rubbings, and we went to cathedrals and castles, and that's one of the places we went, the Mad King Ludwig. Yeah.
When you were there, did they inform you that what eventually happened is the ministers in the government essentially said enough of he's bankrupting the country and he doesn't rule. He's basically just somebody taking up space. They decided to fire him. And they said, look, you'll still be king, but you don't make any decisions on how this country's run anymore. And how that will eventually happen to Trump.
Well, in my mind, it might be happening already in some kind of ways, because some of the things underway are in the background. When you read different reports from different sources, they all say kind of the same thing from their own point of view. So I can say about the King Ludwig, no, they really just talked about his antics as a person and palace life because of tourism, right?
Yeah.
So, and then, Trump wasn't even in the picture back then in terms of being president. But no, they didn't talk about that. Just, his folly and, the circus of his castle, if you will, which is very, very extravagant. Extremely extravagant.
Something like the White House is now.
Kinda. I won't rule that out. Kinda. I mean, the palace is much more elegantly done of the time. It's not gaudy, like what we've been seeing in the background these days. It was, done by craftspeople and masons and sculptors and yeah,
they didn't have Home Depot. They didn't have Home Depot back then.
No. But yeah, there's a couple things that I read this past week that I just don't even understand. And the first one is the government is spending more on ICE than it's spending on the United States Marine Corps.
Ooh.
How can that be?
Well, that's their priority. That's what they're prioritizing.
Oh my God. Then he's already set in motion, or the administration or him, I don't know, in motion. Before the ballots to class, he's freaking out, and he should be freaking out about the midterms. So now there's movement afoot to try and change the way the elections will be handled for the midterms.
Well, what do you mean?
And, that was either in the Atlantic or the New Yorker or the Washington Post, because those are kind of the ones that pop up with these things. But it was one of those, not an obscure.
So you're
source.
Implying that the election will be handled in a way that will help the Republicans.
Certainly, because that has to help him. Because somewhere in time I read, again in this past week, in one of his meetings, that if the Republicans didn't keep the House, he might be destined to be impeached.
Mm-hmm.
But that just stands to reason. Like a few months back, when Steve Bannon was railing at some meeting, saying that everybody in this room, some people in this room, might be going to jail if that happens, me included. I was like, oh my God. You know, they say it out loud. I think there's some sort of Aquarian conspirator in those rooms, because how do they leak this stuff out? I don't know. So, you know, there was that, and then Kristi Noem telling people to invite ICE to lunch or to have a sandwich or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't see that. The last thing I saw about Kristi Noem was when she had this ridiculous cowboy hat on. You couldn't even see her eyes. And she was saying that woman that was shot was a domestic terrorist. I mean...
Yeah, well, you know, on one of these news shows, they had a retired agent, if you will, analyze frame by frame the video footage.
Mm-hmm.
And when they had the little arrows pointing to things, and he talked about two things. One, the actions in motion of the car, which is trying to get out of the way. But more significantly, agents are trained to do certain things. And one of them is do not jump in front of a car. The other one is do not shoot in the window of a moving car. There were several things that, you know, that was pointed out during this interview. That was a frame by frame assessment of the video that was taken. And then the agent, of course, released his body cam, and trust me, it was not helpful to him. Okay. He'd have been better off saying, oops, I lost it. Okay. Because it was not helpful. Okay. So,
yeah,
then, you know, this thing with, let's protect the protesters in Iran, and let's shoot the protesters in America.
Oh, I know. That struck me as well.
I wonder about that. I'm thinking, if this isn't the Twilight Zone, there is not one. Okay. Yeah. We're living in it.
Yeah, that's.
But she wasn't even protesting, from what I understood. She was just trying to get away.
Yes. And when you hear her voice and you see her talking through the window, her voice was pleasant. I mean, this is a tape that's rolling. Anybody can see it. She was saying something, oh, look, I'm not trying to do something. Or, you know, it was very mundane. When you see her face and when you hear the words, it was like very mundane. Something like, you know, just I can't even, you know, it was, I can't even remember what it was, because it was very pleasant sounding. And she was saying, like, I'm not trying to go here. I'm not trying, you know, she was leaning out of the window, talking. So, yeah. It's defensible. There's, you know, there ain't no spin on that. You know, I mean, there's spin doctors, but ain't no spin on that. And then he disappears, and you got to track him down. Give me a break.
They're talking to the people who will not believe anything bad against Trump. They're not talking to normal thinking human beings. So, you know.
Well, we have those protesters out there on Niagara Falls Boulevard. They interviewed one guy who thinks Trump is doing a magnificent job. And then across the street,
I know. There's two sides of the street, which is a metaphor.
Right. And I want to say, you know, this guy who's, you know, in support of how this is being handled, I want to say, just hang on. I got a bridge up here. I want to sell you. It'll be great in your backyard.
All right. We're down to 57 seconds. So I want to thank you, Celeste, for, I know I should have contacted you sooner, but I was having some issues today. So I didn't really get to that, but you're welcome anytime. And thank you again, Richard, for making all of this possible for me and everybody else that does this. And of course, thank you,
Yeah.
Tom, and give yourself a big kiss and a hug for me for being there as engineer. And Celeste, you're always a good guest. I love
Oh
having you
yeah,
on.
we know we keep trying to get together, and I know I'm at fault. I can't. I'm not reaching out.
I've been a little cuckoo lately, so I'm just trying to keep everything together. That's why I'm doing the show from home today. But
Okay.
I'm glad that you were here, and thank you, Richard. And
and let's
I'll
thank the
see you all.
commenters.
Thank the proctor. Yes.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you, commenters, Brian and Vanessa and whoever else was out there commenting. Okay.